Hi, I am Christian Chua, and the reason why I'm going to do this video is because yesterday I posted up a article with regards to Greta Thunberg, and I talk about her demeanor seemed to be one that's very feisty, and I use the word vicious communicator. Okay, so she actually fights and she bites when she talks with such passion and ferocity. So I went to deep dive a little bit further to understand why she behaves the way she behaves, and this started off because she was chosen over Rod Paul, which is a senator and a doctor, which is highly qualified to talk about the coronavirus case. He was overlooked, and instead Greta got the position to be in a panel to talk about this. So this is Rod Paul, and this was how he looked like when he was a presidential candidate debating among the other candidates, and because you knew Trump won the nomination. Trump made fun of his looks, okay, and you know, so interestingly, he spotted a new look, and I really like this new look with the beard and all. He looks okay. So I went to deep dive and I found Greta's younger picture, and this is so interesting. Look at that, a cute young Greta. And what immediately draws my attention is actually the big eyes. The big eyes when she was about 3 years old was reduced to a little bit smaller, and smaller eyes, and relative to the head, the pupils is actually much smaller right now. Okay. She's becoming more sensitive, and there are other features that actually explode out. The head become more square. The lips remain thin lips. Okay, that's very interesting because I expected a thicker lips when she was younger, but she has a thin lips, and so I went to look deeper into Greta's background. You know, she has some extreme behaviors that propel her all the way to such TV stardom, and she also won Times Person of the Year. The other person I talk about is Iqbal Mashir. In my online course, I deep dive into it and why this gentleman has such adult-looking features. Okay, and because he had gone through child slavery. There is always a history behind it. This face reading isn't about fortune telling, but your face actually tells me a story about your past. So when I googled Greta Thunberg, and her full name is Greta Tintin Eleonora Ernman Thunberg. She's Swedish, and IKEA could actually use her name to name 5 different furnitures. Okay, just a joke. She first heard about climate change, and at 8 years old, she could not understand why so little was done about it, and the situation made her depressed. Okay, the keyword here is depressed. She stopped talking and eating, and she lost 10 kilograms, equivalent to 22 pounds, in 2 months. Eventually, she was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, I just love to talk about it, there's so many of these people around me, and selective mutism. It's likely that the depression causes this at 8 years old, and that's the basis of this video right now. Okay, I'm not talking about whether her activities is right or wrong. It's not that I don't have an opinion, it's just that this is not the area I want to discuss with. Okay, when I look at her parents, and her father is actually an actor, and this is her mom, Milana Ernman, and she is an opera singer, but she also joined the Eurovision competition in 2009. She came in top 30. She's very buff and she's a bodybuilder, but in the book she talked about Greta's Asperger's syndrome and her younger sister Beata's ADHD as not being a handicap but a superpower. Okay, this is the key point I want to talk about. If their parents, who is likely the children's idol, perpetuates this behavior, it becomes a very strong belief. So when you tell a child, hey, if you're talking loudly or you're making a lot of noise, that's not a handicap, that is not a disruption, that's a superpower, the child will believe it. Okay, so it's perpetuating this kind of behavior. Now, I want to talk about all these things so that you as parents can make use of the information and know how to bring your children up. Now, an infant has emotions immediately when it is born. That's why the child is brought to the mother right after birth and let the mother and child bond. That is a kind of bond. The child is emotionally ready immediately, and right up to 12 months, up to 24 months, if the child is always handled by the caregiver, eventually the child is attached to the caregiver. We know that. That one is a no-brainer. We all know that. So the mother sometimes quit the job and bonds with the child at home. But for the rationalizing abilities, they don't mature that quickly. That's why children are very emotional. They start to mature at 15 years old, and that's the time when you start to talk to them nicely. And it takes all the way up to 25 years to be fully mature. By saying that, then you understand why a lot of riots or protests are from university age students, 18, 19, 20, and so on. And in the case of Hong Kong, you see the older folks, they don't want it. They don't want to be part of the protest. I mean, and the university students have a different ideology, or maybe they were emotionally driven. Again, I don't want any comments on this. It's not my position to comment about this. I just want to explain to you the behaviors. Okay, up to 25 years old, they become more mature. But that doesn't mean at 25 years old they're going to be mature, because there are some people that never mature. Okay, their rationalization abilities never mature. Like in this period, we're supposed to put on a mask, and some people don't put on masks. When you ask them to put on masks, they say, I am sovereign. And then the government sent them to IMH. And the next day, another one, and also sent to IMH. Yesterday, there was a killing, there was a stabbing, a 20-year-old stabbed a 30-year-old person. What happened to him? IMH, Institute of Mental Health. Okay. Now, the point I want to make here is this. Parents, do not treat your kids as an adult. Adolescents are adolescents because they are more emotional than they are rational. That's why in the schools in Singapore, the ministry emphasizes on social emotional learning. Why? Because kids at that age learn better when they feel the lesson. Okay, when they feel the lesson. So you cannot rationalize with them. I have 3 kids. The other one's young. I have 2 older kids, 19 and 18, and they're pretty mature for their age, but you know what? They're not fully matured, and there's certain times they just don't get it when I try to explain something, and they say, no, and I tell my wife, okay, they still need time to mature, all right? Then what you make them believe or what they see can totally affect them and affect their behavior. For me, when I was young, there were 2 shows I can remember that totally traumatized me. One was a World War II show called The Holocaust, where the emphasis was on exterminating the Jews, putting in a gas chamber, pulling out their gold fillings. And I was like 6 years old, 7-year-old, and every week my parents would watch them, and I would just watch along with that, and I was very traumatized. Okay, as an adult, they were just, oh, what a great movie. But like, to me, it's like, traumatizing. The other movie was Alex Haley's The Roots, where they were torturing the slaves, and it was terrible. Ask you to think twice and be a little bit on guard on what your children see at that point, because it can really affect them. And in the case of Greta's mom, where she said, this is not a handicap, this is a superpower, it's like cheering them on. So in my case, when I can speak, if my teacher said, hey, Christian, you are very disruptive, you better shut up and keep quiet in class. Or if she says, hey, you really got a gift in speaking, you know, you should make a career out of this. And if I follow the second one and I start to believe and I go on stage and you guys clap and stamp and cheer, when you cheer me on, it perpetuates and it strengthens my belief. Okay, so just use this technique. You already know how you can actually guide your kids. Okay, so I want to keep this channel and my videos of high quality, so feel free to share them if you want to. No need to ask me any more permission, just share them, because I just want to give this free information out to help you. So hang on and continue watching.